Bill 474 by Chairman Reagan. Got a proper motion and second. I do see we have an amendment on the bill we need to place. Can you please give us your drafting number, Chairman Reagan?
Yes, sir. My drafting number is 6528.
That is correct. Do I have a motion? Proper motion and second on the amendment. Chairman Reagan, would you like for us to place this amendment on the bill to be discussed?
Yes, please. It does rewrite a major portion of the bill.
We're ready to vote on Amendment 6528 going on to House Bill 474. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The bill is now amended. Chairman Reagan, you're recognized on the amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Simply stated, this bill prohibits counties, municipalities, or metropolitan governments from expending funds for the purposes of studying or disbursing reparations. It defines what reparations are, as well as defines what they're to be paid for, which means money or benefits provided to individuals or descendants or persons who were enslaved. The fact of the matter is, no one alive today was either a slave or a slaveholder. If there were to be reparations program, the question becomes, from whom are these reparations taken, and to whom are they paid? The architects of our Constitution understood the immense dangers of political retaliation. They designed state and federal constitutions to enshrine a new and better system of justice. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution and the Tennessee Bill of Rights explicitly prohibit kin punishment. That is to say, it is wrong to punish someone for another person's crimes or wrongdoings. More than that, it's always wrong to punish any person for the crime of another. Slavery was a grievous evil. There is no one that can stand against that. And all of us want to see American communities flourish. But extracting a fine from one group to pay it to another on crimes that neither group was alive to see is a new injustice. And again, from whom do we take the money and to whom do we give it? I urge your vote and passage of House Bill 474.
You've heard description of House Bill 474 as amended. Is there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the sponsor of the bill. I don't know if I even know where to start. Are you saying that in any case, in any situation, no one should be able to be rewarded for the pain and suffering that they went through as young as slavery is, which still exists today?
Chairman Reagan.
Slavery still exists today. In fact, I've carried a bill to counter it. In fact, presented it on the floor. It's called human trafficking today, which is a euphemism. The slavery we're talking about here was that which was in existence and, in fact, made illegal by the 13th and 14th Amendments.
Representative Shaw.
So I guess this is where kind of my faith come in. I can't, I'm trying to get my arms around exactly. I hear what you said, but what you're trying to do, because I still think that there could be some people even living today. And actually, you're listening to one talk right now that was involved in the situation. I'm not asking for reparation, but I probably ought to for what happened, but I'm not. But there are other people like me still living, and I don't understand how I could say that, we shouldn't look back and take care of that if that's what needed to be done. And I do think it needs to be something that's validated and need to be true, but I don't know how we look back and do that. So I thank you for the time to comment, Mr. Chairman, but I'm just really baffled. Thank you.
Chairman Reagan for a response.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to help clarify that, anybody who is enslaved today has been enslaved against our law. It's illegal. They are entitled to seek civil and criminal compensation. This bill is not about those who are illegally enslaved. This bill is about those who were enslaved prior to the 13th and 14th Amendment. And there is no one alive, according to the Census Bureau today, who was either a slave or a slaveholder prior to that time.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to sponsor. Do you believe that the U.S. economy had any economic gains from the free and forced labor of persons from Africa?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir, your question has nothing to do with this bill.
Representative Love for a follow-up.
So, what the original question you asked in your presentation was, from who would the reparations be paid? And my course of questions is speaking to that because your bill is preventing local governments from studying reparations. So my line of question goes to the fact that I believe that the Tennessee economy benefited from the forced and free labor of Myra Love, who was my great-grandmother, and Samuel Love, who was my grandfather, who were both enslaved in Tennessee and were not paid. And the census record shows that they were enslaved and not paid. So that's why my question asks, do you believe that the U.S. economy benefited from any way from the free and forced labor of persons from Africa who were brought here in chattel slavery beginning as early as the 1600s? That's why I asked a question.
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, I'll respond with the same response. Your question has nothing to do with this bill, sir.
All right.
Representative McKenzie.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, but I wasn't finished, but I know, are we limited to?
You are not, but I didn't see your hand, and I have Representative McKenzie on the list. I can come back to you, but I recognized him.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Put me back on the list, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we discussed in sub, but let me get to what you were saying earlier. You talked about crimes against people and that no person can be charged with a crime against another person. But as you also laid out, this bill covers slavery, which had to be abolished with an amendment. So slavery wasn't a person-to-person crime. Slavery was a crime by the United States that had to have an amendment to abolish it. So my question to you is, why are you bringing this bill as it relates to, and your justification is this is a person that can't pay it? So why are you bringing this bill when this bill does not deal with a person paying reparations?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused by your analogy. I think the gentleman next to you had mentioned being a victim of slavery, and I pointed out that under our current laws, slavery is illegal, and it is possible to seek criminal and civil restitution for that. As far as a person is concerned, this bill is asking the question, from whom are reparations taken and to whom are they given, since there is no one today alive who was affected by slavery, which, by the way, is an unfortunate circumstance, and it was legal in our nation prior to the 13th and 14th Amendment. But since that time, it has been illegal.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You made a total, I would say, misstatement. There are people alive today that have been affected by slavery. There are people alive today that's been affected by slavery. But, Mr. Chair, I'd like to go out of session because as I read this caption, I don't think it applies in any way, shape, form, or fashion to the amendment that we just put on the bill. And I'd like to ask legal.
Representative McKenzie, would you agree to allowing Representative Representative Love to ask his question that I missed, and then we will go out of session.
Absolutely.
I'll come back.
Representative Love,
I can come back, Mr. Chairman, after we get out of session.
Okay.
If that's fine.
without objection, we will go out of session. I will recognize legal for Representative McKenzie's question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Houston, Legal Services. So the caption to this bill, House Bill 474, is an act to amend Tennessee Code annotated Title V, Title VI, Title VII, Title IX, and Title 67 relative to local governments. The amendment amends Title V, Title VI, and Title VII, and applies only to local governments. It applies to counties, municipalities, and metropolitan governments. So it'd be my opinion that the amendment is squarely within the caption of the bill.
Representative McKenzie for legal.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. But as I read the caption, it says, expresses legislative intent that persons appointed to a charter commission for the consolidation of functions of the county and the creation of a metropolitan government be representative of both incorporated and unincorporated areas of the county. That's what this bill covers. The caption covers the intent of the bill, and anything that's introduced should fall within this caption. So there's, let me ask you again, what specifically about preventing locals from having reparations falls within a person being appointed to a charter commission for consolidation of metro government?
Legal service.
Thank you, Josh Houston for Legal Services. So what you just referred to is the abstract, which is the essentially a summary of the bill as it was introduced, and the abstract is not changed until the bill is finally passed. So once the bill passes, the abstract will be changed to as introduced. It will say as enacted, and will accurately reflect what is in the bill as it was passed. So this was a caption bill, and this amendment is redoing the entire bill.
Any other questions for legal? Seeing none, we'll go back in session. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to the sponsor, I know this is a difficult subject for many of us to discuss, and we try our best to address these issues. I would just appeal to you to, just for a moment, understand that for many of us, there is this thing called the vestiges of slavery, and that's the residue that's left over. And the vestiges of slavery affect generations and generations when we see instances where the forced and free labor of persons from Africa denied them the chance to benefit from the economic gains that they produced for this country. The Center for Equitable Growth, the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, estimates that the increase in output per enslaved worker was responsible for roughly a fifth of the growth in commodity output per capita for the United States as a whole between 1839 and 1859, between 18.7% and 24.3%. And so the point I was trying to make to you is that the U.S. economy and the economy of many of our states benefited from the forced and free labor of persons from Africa and other places, but mainly from Africa. And to wholesale just deny that there are residual effects, even in 2023, of an institution that was abolished by law, I think is I know extremely difficult for me. I evoke the name of my ancestors because oftentimes we don't put a face and a name.
Representative Love, I've been really lenient. Can you please get to the question?
Yes, sir. Here's the question. Can you roll the bill for a week?
Chairman Reagan.
I would prefer not to, sir. It's a very straightforward bill.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sponsor, for your leniency.
Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What negative repercussions do you see that would happen against the state of Tennessee by a local government either studying or dispersing reparations in one form or another?
Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you're talking about is the equivalent of kin punishment. That is, punishing children for the sins of their parents or relatives for the sins of their relatives, family members. The idea that someone is guilty because a member of their family or some ancestor did something is an anathema to our Constitution. In fact, our U.S. Constitution and our state Constitution specifically prohibit something called corruption of blood, which is another way of saying punishing family members for the crimes of another. It is certainly true that kin punishment was practiced historically by traditionally dictatorial governments such as Nazi Germany, China, and Japan, and presently in North Korea. But it is not so in our country.
Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, that's great theory. And we can argue theory all day long. But, you know, the fact is that ancestors of enslaved people are still affected even after well over 150 years of slavery. I mean, I live in a majority African American city that, and I can see that. I've seen it for decades. So, in a practical way, if a city or a county sees a positive effect by at least studying, if not reimbursing, reparations, do you not feel that that would be, you know, some justification for allowing that to happen with the city or county?
Chairman Reagan.
No, sir, I don't.
Representative Thompson for
Okay.
follow-up.
I respectfully disagree, and I think for very practical reasons that this will be harmful to cities and counties and generally to the state of Tennessee.
Representative Shaw, I have you on the list, but I'm going to bypass you to Representative Miller since he has not had a chance to speak. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't know where to start. I do know where to start. I'm going to be positive. I have to do that to maintain sanity around here. I see you as a good man.
Thank you.
The time I've known you, a man with experience, even wisdom. When I see you through the meetings, receptions, you got a firm hand grip, and I like that. A man who stands up for what he believes. I even thought, this is a man I can go out and have a beer with on the weekend or something, right? And I try not to take things personal around here. I've been doing it for a long time, a long time. And I've been pretty successful, I think. This language, though, and if I can separate the language from the man, not only is it offensive insulting, divisive, unnecessary, but it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And what hurts me more is that it's coming from someone I respect. We got enough of this going on in the state, in these committees. At some point in time, pull back, take a breather, do it next year. Give me a break. Give us a break from this madness. Give us a break. Back in the day, being here for 30 years, we were men and women of prestige, real purpose, respect. I don't see that up here today. I'm not going to get into some intellectual debate about what my colleagues have already talked about. I'm not going to demean myself with that. I'm not going to do, because they said it to the point that if it doesn't make sense to this committee and you, it's certainly not going to make sense coming from me. Because what you're saying in this bill, I don't even want you to study it. Come on, man. This is America. This is what makes us great. We can study anything we want to. That's freedom to study. And you want to restrict us to even knowing? I'm not going to even ask you to roll the bill because I'm sick and tired of rejections. Do the right thing. Give us all a break. Do something different than what people think you're going to do. Surprise us.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you,
May I
Mr.
respond
Chairman.
to that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Chairman.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I regret that my colleague has expressed that because I do respect him, and I don't take things personally either. That said, this bill is not intended personally, and as far as studying is concerned, the entities concerned here are governments. If they wish to contract with one of our universities for a study, they're certainly free to do that. The government entity itself is what this is about. And as far as delaying it is concerned, there's no real reason to delay because it's not going to change the principles in this bill. The principles in this bill are straightforward. It's about a principle of law that has been around since well before the Magna Carta. We don't punish family members for the sins of their ancestors or other family members. And that's what this is in effect doing.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I won't belong the time. I just basically want to say this for the record. I've been around here for a long time, and one of the things that I've always tried to do was to respect my colleagues. Doesn't matter who they are. I think it's important that we respect and care for each other. And I want to go to heaven, so I have to love everybody. In fact, I have to love folk that won't love me back. But there's one thing I found out. You can't cover your sins with legislation. You can put it all up all you want to, but at the end of the day, God has the last say. And of course, I can't support this. I won't support this. That will support it is that God has the last say. And when we try to cover our steps with legislation, we're making a big mistake. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next on the list is Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Roll call vote, please.
Give me just a second. Representative Warner, you called for the question, is that correct? Okay.
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. That is a non-debatable, and I did not recognize the individual who called for, out of turn, was not recognized to call for the roll call vote, so we will
Point of
be
order.
voting.
Could I have point of order?
Representative McKenzie, for what purpose?
As I read the rules for this committee, it simply said, did not give any modicums or any kind of clarifications, but it said that any 3 members or the chair may call for a roll call vote at any time
When they're recognized.
prior
but
to the vote. It did not say when recognized. It said prior to the vote.
You can't just holler out from your seat, sir. You have to be recognized by the chair. That being said, we have already taken a vote on the amendment, so there has been a vote taken, so we will not be doing a roll call vote. All those in favor of House Bill 474 as amended, moving on to calendar and rules, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. Next on the agenda is item number 3, House Bill 594 by Representative Garrett. Ma'am, if you do not be quiet, I'll have you removed from the courtroom. Thank you. Representative Garrett, we got a proper motion and second. I do see it has an amendment.